Good. Hey guys, it's Brandon and Jordo from the BLIMP Podcast. Today we're talking about getting out of your comfort zone and breaking through potential barriers. Like Jordo, last week we spoke about, goal setting, and although we didn't really get too much into the goal setting, right? It was just like, what's your dream and your motivation and how do you measure that? But this week, we're wanting to, which we're going to go back to that. There was so much that we missed on it.
Heaps, man. You talk about goals forever. Yeah.
Paul is just like the man to talk to about that. But I think this comes around the mindset again. Like there's so much mindset stuff we're talking about this here, but getting out of breaking through that comfort zone, that resistance, and then becoming better. And it relates back to the why, it relates back to the goal setting, and those two together are really what pushes you to get through that. It's like, what gets you up in the morning at 4 a.m. to go to gym every day and all that sort of stuff.
My alarm clock, bro.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh yeah, this is this body that hasn't been to gym for like 2 years. So if you're not watching this on YouTube, you can imagine. So but like I'm back into that routine now, which is really good. On that too, man. Like we'll have a chat about this. I don't know whether you saw my Facebook post. Did you see me put the thing up about the Nepalese guy Nims Purja so there's working too hard, right? So anyway, there's this doco, man, on Netflix called 14 Peaks. Dude, freaking amazing. So break this down, right? Talking about breaking through barriers. So there's 14 peaks in the world over 8,000 feet.
Yeah, wow.
And I'm talking like you can have a desert underneath, and then literally once they sort of hit this 8,000 feet, it's like Antarctica, bro. This is like blizzards. You wouldn't believe it. So there's this guy, a Nepalese fella, and a lot of times Nepalese will assist like the avid climbers, but these lads are just the dudes that like the pack horses, right? And they go up there and they help fix anchor lines. This Nepalese guy's like, no Nepalese people are in the spotlight. So there's 14 peaks above 8,000 meters. This guy is like, I want to do all 14 peaks in a short period of time. Keep in mind the record beforehand. So someone has done it before. So people have done it before. 14 years, man. Guess how long this guy wants to do it in? 7 months. I'm going to spoil this shit. Dude, he does it. Freaking dude, he does it. But as well as this, like on his first peak, man, he comes down, they hit this peak, and I was like, dude, that was crazy. He goes, they come down like the next morning, right? And he inspires this other climber who was turning back. Anyway, awesome. You got to watch it. But come down, puts his head in the tent. He's like, bro, we got a problem. There's a climber back up the top who hasn't made the summit, who hasn't checked back in. Dude, these guys go back up again on the first summit of 14, bro. It's amazing. So 14 peaks, Netflix, freaking love it, man. Yeah. If you haven't seen it, put that on your list, man. So bro, let's chat on this on like breaking barriers. Obviously what I'm going with there is like this guy has shown that what we would deem to be physically impossible, bro, possible. Hey, you and I were chatting about Roger Bannister before, and the 4 minute mile. That guy was he was a champion. I'll get some stats, man. I think it was 19, quote me here, was he 1956?
1952.
50, yeah. So I got 54. What you looking at? You looking at Wikipedia?
1952 Olympics was
is when he did it. So yeah, well,
the 4 minute mile was 1954, but the Olympics that he was in was 1952.
Right, yeah. So I think he was telling people, he was like, hey, I'm gonna run this 4 minute mile. Keep in mind, like they'd been Olympics. It's in the history of humankind, no one had run like a mile under 4 minutes. Because what do they say? They were like, your heart physically, your body, the human body physiologically, it is impossible to run the mile in 4 minutes. And he was like, nah, bro. He's like, I can do this.
He went sub 4 minutes too.
He went sub 4 minutes. Yeah. The funny thing was, like he does this, he runs this in sub 4 minutes after they said it's physically not possible. I got a stat here, 4 years, in the next 4 years after he runs that, 20 more people run it. And there's something like 1,600 people have run it since then, since 1954. It shows, hey, like once people get past that mental barrier, they do it. Hey, you can do it.
But you see it all the time. It's a resistance life. And it's that mental, that mindset They're like, it can't be done. Why am
Yeah.
I different, you know? But then
Heck yeah.
it's like, one thing that really gets to me is that gym, man. Like, I've been going to gym every day now, except weekends, for 3 years, I think. And yeah, I'm no Ziz, but Arnold Schwarzenegger. But man, there's a guy I know, and I think you know him as well. He's been going to gym and has done a 12-week challenge. Before that, didn't ever really go to gym. 12-week challenge, and he is just like a bodybuilder now, apparently. Like, it's just went from 0 to 100 super quick. And
That's steroids, bro.
no,
No, I'm joking.
it shows that the discipline, right?
Yeah,
I go to gym, but I eat whatever the hell I want.
bro,
And
that's the
it's
difference.
just the way to
Yeah.
justify that. But, you know, and I didn't ever think, well, you know, 90% of what, you know, your outcome is going to be like when you go in the gym is from your diet, right? But we're all like, no, just no pain, no gains.
No, it's true, man. Like, you have a Ferrari, bro. You put shit fuel in it, you ain't going fast.
Yeah. And so it's always a combination of things, right? So, you know, a lot of people, like we were saying earlier, you've got someone whose friend drags them along to gym. And they're like, yeah, you know, I'm pumped up. I'm gonna get into this. You go and buy all the good clothes, and you go and buy all the good supplements that you've got no idea what they do, but the guy at the shop said to get them. And then you go a couple of times, you take these supplements that taste like ass, and then
I've never found a good one. Just for the record,
I have
never.
But
There's one called Snickers flavor and Mars flavor. I haven't tried that yet.
genetics do a really good red frog.
True.
Yeah, but
yeah, okay.
they do really good flavors. But
yeah, okay.
We so like, how many times I know that I've been guilty of it like 3 times now, right? Where I've gone and bought all that stuff and then slept in every single day, or not gone that night because I've just gotten busy.
Yeah.
All of the supplements go off. Those clothes no longer fit you because you're fatter.
Yeah.
And then,
Dude, I reckon I can find some protein in my cupboard right now. Like,
yeah,
from 18 months ago.
And so it's like, it's you sort of try to put yourself on a trajectory by doing all these right things, but then you've got to, like you said, it's like putting crappy fuel in your Ferrari. You're not going to get very far. You need to continue to monitor and realign yourself. Like you mentioned last week when we were talking to Paul, you know, you've got your boat set on a course, and if you look away for a while, you realize that you've gone off course by ages. And that happens so quickly in just everyday things we do, right? Let alone business. Like, how easy is it to get sidetracked in business? Today was just, the last 2 days actually, for both of us, I think,
so easy,
crazy. And it's just so easy to lose track of everything, and then to realize before long that you've just wasted 6 months of achieving that goal, breaking that.
It happens quick. Yeah. This is the thing too. Hey, like, people, like, you'll hear me talk about, like, routines are good to get into, but ruts are not, right?
Yeah.
I heard this saying today, and I've heard it before. It's like, comfort zones are where your dreams go to die. So true, man. Like, if you're in a comfort zone, you are not progressing. Like, if you're going to the gym and you're not sore the next day or two, you ain't growing, right? You're not going to see gains. Like,
you listen to the same way for 2 years.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the pain is what makes you grow, and I think that's really important. Same's true in business, right? You got to be prepared to put yourself in that shitty situation, not a shitty situation, a situation you don't like.
Yeah.
And this is, but the thing is our bodies, humans, are really good at adapting to situations. We have these coping mechanisms, and we're really good. Like, we adjust to pain really quickly. Whether that be emotional pain, physical pain, and it's our survival mechanisms. But you think about this too. Like, I'll give an example. Someone doesn't like waking up early, talking about routine, right? Yeah. And if I'm like, hey, you're waking up at 7 every day. There's this guy actually, Rob Dial, so awesome podcast if you haven't listened to him. He does this he gets his accountability crew. So he gets all these guys, he gets them on a 5 a.m. accountability call. He's like, you know what? First thing I'm going to do, you are going to, I think he calls it eating the frog. Like, you imagine eating a frog first thing in the morning. Like, get the hardest thing out of the day. So he's like, boom, cold shower. You guys get up here 5 o'clock. We do a 5 o'clock accountability call. Everyone does it. Like, 400 people in his course. They get there and they all have a teleconference, held accountable. And he said everyone's like moping around. They've got their coffee or whatever. And then he said 2 weeks in, everyone's buzzing. So guess what he does? we have a 4 a.m. accountability call. Like we won't ever do that, but you know what I mean? It just shows like people get used to it. And I've done this before too. Like you get up at 7, and then I get up at like 4, 5 o'clock. Like it will change, but like once I start waking up at 4:30 to do some paperwork for a few hours, bro, like there's no setting an alarm. I'm up at 4. It's really good. So
it's funny, like you have certain things, right, that you can prioritize to make like, so for instance, you can set a goal in business or in your job or something like that, even going to gym, right? And it's like, oh, I don't have time today. You got time to go sit down and watch, 14 Peaks on Netflix. Right. So it's all about priorities as well. And it's so easy to, feel sorry for yourself, like, oh, I'm so busy and all this sort of stuff. But it's all about that discipline. It's all about like constantly checking and measuring yourself against what those goals are, where that line is, how close you are. And the closer you get, the harder it gets, right? It's not like, I've almost hit it, it's just going to be so easy. It's like, especially growth in business, it's just like you've got to invest your life savings to get even close to that peak. And then you may be running it negative while you cross that peak. But on the other side, it's uncharted territory, and it's just so imperative that you just continue that trajectory.
Yeah, and you know what? Like this, you and I were listening to a podcast recently as well, and the guy on it said something that I really liked. He's like, he doesn't want to be looking back on his best self, right? This is that Rob Dial. He's like, I don't want to be look back at and be like, I mean, when he looks back at the past, be like, that was my best. That was my glory days. He's like, I want my best days to be in the future. And he's like, the way that you do that, and I try and do this as well, but you forget, you get distracted. But rehashing it, I was like, you know what? And hearing it again, I was like, it's something I've got to do. But if you can think about this, like there's so many areas of your life, whether it be like your career, relationships, your intellectual ability, your emotional capacity, strength, even what your spirituality or your physical, right? There's all these elements to your life. We call cripes. I'll talk about that in a future podcast. I think we'll go through that. But imagine if you just made yourself every day 1% better. I want to be 1% better than yesterday. You think about the accumulation of self or the personal development, whether it be in your business or personally, in a year. Trying to be 1% better than you were the day before. And I think that's cool. I'm going to take something away from that, and I'll definitely try and do it.
What's your, I guess, like for anyone that's listening, what is your take on that? How do you become 1% better? Is it doing one thing different that you weren't usually doing, or? Yeah,
well, man, do you know what? It's easy to become 1% better, right? You think about so just say I make 200 decisions a day. Like decent decisions, which would be related to any of those aspects. Do I call that customer? Do I have this piece of food? Whatever it is, right? Or should I make that call? Anything. You think there's 200 decisions? Bro, all I've got to do is make 2 decisions better for 1%, right? Than the day before. And I think that's probably a way to look at it. And you think about how many decisions you're presented with that. You know what? We talk about, so like career, relationship, intelligence, emotional. Do you know what? Can I reach out to my family? Who should I call? Do you know what I mean? Should I call those people who are close to me? Can I, should I? Yeah. So and little things like that, like physical. Should I, should I sit down and watch TV, or should I take the dog for a walk? Those little things. And we spoke about this last week with goals and visualization. Having something that goes through like a thought process or a filter to actually steer us in the right direction of a decision or a goal is only going to be to your benefit. So man, that's what I would do. So
especially when it is forcing you to step out of your comfort zone, right? Like it's that uncharted territory. It's getting to a place where it's a little bit uncomfortable. Like I said, that's where you grow. That's where you see growth. And if all that takes is making a few decisions better. If it's instead of knocking off early, it's just staying back a little bit longer, or making that extra phone call that you'll put off till tomorrow. You know what I actually find? Petrol. You've got an empty tank and you're like, I'll do it tomorrow. Worst lie you ever tell yourself. You're driving around empty for the next 3 days at least. Like it is.
Yeah. My car only runs half a day before it runs out of fuel, man. V8 life. But Yeah, man. This is the thing. For me, it would be like diet and exercise, bro. For so many. Do you know how many diets I'm going to start on Monday? And I say that on Friday. Like, hey, I'll start eating healthy Monday. Bro, I've had cheat days blow into cheat years, man. So, but you got to be aware of that.
That's right.
And so I'd be this guy. Like, obviously, I've lost heaps of weight and relatively healthy, and I'm on the way down now. But man, I got to a stage. So I probably I think in the last like 12 months, maybe lost 30 kilos. So to sit at a healthy weight, and you sort of don't realize, well, you do, because you're like, I'm fat shit. But there's like, there are people out there whose lives busy. We can get excuses, but I'd be the person who, you look in the mirror and you're quite confident, like, yeah, you're a good lad. Like, you're putting on a bit of weight. You're a top bloke. People still like you. Like, that's bad. Like, whereas other people suffer from anxiety and they're like, you know what? You're really fat. You need to tone that down. So I had the other end of the battle. I was like, all good. But what happens is I would get clothes, right? And this is what I've learned. Like, you get clothes and they get tight and you're like, I'll just buy some more. Bro, I had like, and then I'd go shopping and I'd be like, all right, I'll buy these clothes that are like 3 sizes smaller. So I'll fit in them one day. You're like, oh yeah. Bro, Vinny's love me, man. They get stuff with the tag. They get designer shit with the tag still on them. But it feels good sort of getting back to that healthy sort of, getting into it. And you don't do that without routine or without sacrifice and without discipline. Yeah, man, absolutely. And breaking things into smaller little goals, right? If you say, I'm going to go to gym tomorrow, like, keep in mind, we're heading to the new year, right? What are we, like, early December? New year, new me. They will fall off the bandwagon. So if, for anyone that was listening, I would say don't try and change the world overnight, right? People are resistant to change. If there is too much change, you will not do it. So if it means just making one smart choice, like if someone who was like morbidly obese or heavy, there's no way you're even going to get out of the car, or do you mean into the car to go to the gym? So it's like, you know what? How about you walk up the hallway 20 times for the next, like, every 3 days? And then you need small steps, but be religious about improving. Like, you can't just say, I'm going to walk up to 20 times up and down the hall for the next, 2 years, every 3 days. You have to increase that pain, increase that pressure to see the results.
And progress is progress. Doesn't matter how.
Yeah, man. Exactly.
Like that. You have to appreciate the little things. Take notice of all of your wins. Set those smaller goals that create a pathway to, that unicorn dream, like you said, and be accountable, own your shit, be like, don't make excuses like, oh, well, I worked and I'm the worst for this. It's like, I'm going to be installing solar today, lifting solar panels above my head all day. I don't need to go to gym today. That's my gym. It's like, well, that's breaking the routine. That's breaking.
Right, yeah.
And it's creating excuses for yourself. And so I think if you're being accountable, the best thing to do is to have someone who will keep you accountable for that, and not take those crappy excuses. And set those little goals that path the way to where you want to be, and just constantly monitor that, because it's so easy to slip off that bandwagon and get back to where you were.
And to make excuses, right? Like, don't be going to the gym, like you said, and then putting bad fuel in the tank. I'm going to share this with you, bro. Started this year, right? Talking about putting on weight. I started walking back like February, March. I was walking 250 kilometers a month. I got this walking app called Pacer, right?
Yeah.
Plugs. You can pay us if you want Pacer. No. Anyway, so I was smashing this. I was like, I'm going to do keto diet. So I'm doing keto and I'm walking and like 250 Ks a month. Like, that's an average of like 22,000 steps a day.
Yeah.
And I'll be on the phone pacing, man, because it's like I was real competitive, right? There's other people on the app. I'm like, I'm not letting Mavis in Victoria beat me, right? I'm gonna smash her. So anyway, I did this, but what I would do, man, come dinner, like, I'm doing keto, and some guy said to me, like, you can eat as much as you want. And I'm like, I want to eat as much as I want. Right, like piled up with cheeses and fetas and bacon. Bro, I was walking 250 kilometers a month, eating no carbs, putting on weight, and it was not muscle.
Yeah,
right. It's crazy. So that's a big thing too. Like, I'd be that person who's like, I've worked hard today. I've gone to gym. I'll eat this pizza. Don't counteract your hard work, right? You cannot out-train a bad diet. So that's my final wisdom for you. If you're trying to do the fitness, we are not PTs, but we know how to get fat.
Do what we say not.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, those that cannot do teach. So
and
that's cool, man.
That's a good one as well, as learning from other people's mistakes or shortfalls where you see that happen, and being like, it's so easy to say, I'd never do that. Challenge yourself. You know,
exactly.
Doing those little things, get yourself out of that habit, that routine that you have, get yourself into a better one, like you said, by making that one better decision. So that's awesome. There's some really good takeaways from that. Yeah,
man. I reckon we'll try, like, obviously we'll talk about whatever we do next week. We'll get our like content exploring happening, but we will cover on cripes too. But that was good. I enjoyed talking about that because it's something that gets us all right. We put physical and mental limitations on ourselves in everything. So sometimes it's good to know that, you know what, you can knock that shit down. It's only, I mean, I think I saw this, it was David Goggins talking about this before we go. They were saying, like, at the body's point, quote me, don't quote me on this, but I'm near positive that's what they said. When you get to the point of physical exhaustion, like drop in a pile, so this guy's like SAS calls or whatever he was, like David Goggins is like this fitness freak, right? You're at 70%, 60-70% of your body's capacity by the time you sort of like fall on the ground, because, you know, in our mental, it's like having a limiter in a car on the rev limiter. It might hit 7,000 RPM, but it can go to 8. And what happens is we have these mental blocks to say, I'm so physically exhausted, and we just fall in a heap. The body's at like 60%. It's crazy. It's rare. So this is, I think Goggins is a guy, I think he did like 400 pull-ups, man, set the world record. The guy's an animal, man. If you look up David Goggins, he's just this beast. But yeah, so to understand that, like at our point of physical exhaustion, where we fall in a heap on the ground because the body says you cannot move another centimeter, and we physically can't, 60% body's capacity. Crazy, man. Hey, yeah. There you go. That's physical limitation. Go out there and bust that 60.
That's awesome.
Cool. Cheers, man. Hey, good chat.
Today, man. Great catching up again, and look forward to next week.
Cheers, bro. Hey, take care, and you everyone have an amazing week.
Will do. I'll catch you later.
Yeah, see you, man. Bye.